Morning, everyone. My name is CJ Humans. I'm a senior transportation engineer with RS&H, and I serve as the project manager for the First Coast Expressway. I'm joined here by Amy Williams with FDOT. She is the design project manager for the department. A little bit about RS&H. Let's see where we're at here. There we go. RS&H is a fully integrated architecture engineering consulting firm. We help our clients realize their most complex facility and infrastructure projects for land, sea, land, air, and space. We serve aerospace and defense clients, aviation, corporate, healthcare, and science, and transportation clients across the country. We're always ranked among the nation's top 100 design firms, and we've worked in over 50 countries across the globe. Fun fact, we have the largest AEC headquarters in Florida, which is right here in Jacksonville. But enough about RS&H. I'm here to talk about some good news. And the good news is that First Coast Expressway is coming to Clay County. After nearly 30 years in the planning, it's literally just on the horizon. The project has endured so many hurdles, environmental impacts, politics, major recession, financial constraints, land acquisition, but it's here now. And when it's completed, like George said, it's going to change the face of Clay County. So let's talk some details. First Coast Expressway is a high-speed, limited-access tolled expressway. It's going to be 4 lanes from the get-go. And it's nice wide shoulders, nice wide median so that it can be widened in the future easily to a 6 or 8 lane condition. There's going to be toll gantries, and you might have already seen them in the Duval segment. These are cashless gantries that you just drive right underneath with a transponder. And there's also toll-by-plate technology, and we'll talk about the difference between that in just a second. So First Coast Expressway is 46 miles from I-95 in St. Johns County through Clay County and up to I-10 in Duval County. Basically, we look at the job in 3 segments: the Duval segment in gray, Clay in red, and St. Johns in yellow. So what's been done already? So really 2 major projects. One at the north end, the US 90 extension of State Road 23 up to US 90, and then the Duval segment. All in all, this is going to be ready next month. So tolls will start next month, and with that, they will raise the speed limit back up to 70 miles per hour as designed. So that's coming this month. So at the north end, this is done, the US 90 interchange. This was specifically designed to extend State Road 23, First Coast Expressway, up to US 90 to serve the facility, and specifically these types of commercial businesses. So that was completed last year at a cost of about $50 million. So here are some pictures, and the reason why I'm showing these pictures is they look terrific, but it kind of gives you a sense of what this type of facility is going to look like when it's completed. So here you are at I-10, nice big loops, safe, modern, high speed. We're just going to roll through some of the interchanges in Duval, because when you look at these interchanges, this is what you're going to see in Clay County in the next 5 years. I can show you a bunch of renderings, but this is really proof in the pudding right here. So here's Normandy. We've also got 103rd, Argyle Forest, Oakleaf Plantation, Trail Ridge Road, and finally at the south end, State Road 21, Blanding Boulevard. But yet more is coming. Phase 2, Clay County. 20 miles of expressway, over 40-something bridges, 40-something stormwater ponds, incredible amount of asphalt and dirt. $408 million of infrastructure is coming to Clay County over the next 5 years. And I did some research. I can't find a larger project, a larger infrastructure project at one time injected directly into Clay County. So if anyone knows a bigger project, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. But $408 million at one time in a course of 5 years, that's incredible. And there's obviously more to come. So phase 2 is actually built in 2 specific phases, the north phase and the south phase. We've got 2 contractors on board. You can see the stats on the screen, but the news here is that they are rocking and rolling. They're at 8% for time. and about 8% for budget right now as well. So they are looking great. They're on time. They're not behind. And it's going to be our job to keep them going at that rate to get this thing going and completed. So here we are, interchanges. You've got basically 6 of them scattered throughout the corridor, and then 5 toll facilities in between the interchanges. So I get a lot of questions about toll rates, and the toll rates have been established for the Duval County section, but they have not been established for the St. Johns or Clay County segments. But there is some pattern that you can see with those Duval rates. And I'm going to point out 2 different specific columns. This information comes from Turnpike. They provide this to DOT and the public. And so this is not me, this is not RSNH, this is not even DOT, this is Turnpike establishing these toll rates. But you can see the prices on the screen. You can see if you use the transponders, you're going to save about $1 a trip if you go from Blanding all the way up to I-10. So you can use toll by plate, but over time it's going to cost you more money. And so the transponders, you've got 2 types. You've got the mobile one on the right, and you've got the sticker that's permanent on your dashboard on the left. So you can pick these up at Publix, CVS, Winn-Dixie. You get them online. They're really easy to get, really easy to set up, and it's going to be something that's just part of our everyday lives now. So I did the math, and I looked at the length, and this is all me, not Turnpike, not FDOT, but if you do the math, you look at the length, that's your rate per mile. So if you take those rates and if you apply that to Clay County, big disclaimer, this is not coming from DOT or Turnpike. This is just me. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just an engineer, and this is what I do. So here you go. Here are your rates. So here's could be what your cost could be. So when you add it all up, that is going to cost some money, to get, but it's a pretty long road. And so if you take those rates as well and you apply that to the entire corridor from I-10 to 95, or vice versa, you're looking at $7.60. And if you don't have a transponder, you could be paying an extra $4. So again, disclaimer, this is just me looking at, and I've looked at other toll roads in the state, and it's consistent. But I don't think it's going to be any lower, probably anything be more. Also, I don't have a price yet for the bridge. There might be a premium to cross the river. Don't know yet. But the local trip over the river is still free. So I get a lot of questions on that as well. So what's next? Phase 3, the bridge. I think there's a lot of focus on Clay County, but there's going to be even more focus coming up on the bridge, because that is really what connects Clay County with St. Johns and 95. So here we go. Clay County, you got the bridge. You can see the stats on the screen there. Funded for construction in 2023, which means it could be as early as summer, July 2022. So the good news is that it's funded for construction. Here are some graphics, some renderings, some stats on the bridge. 65 feet high at the channel. The bridge today is about 45 feet, so we're going to increase the channel span by about 20 feet. And that's really going to help commercial traffic on the river south of this bridge. So right now, the current bridge is a constraint for a lot of communities, a lot of businesses down south. So by doing this, we're opening up the corridor, the river corridor. It's going to have wide shoulders and nice LED safe lighting. So no more, white knuckling it over the bridge at night. You're going to feel safe. You're going to drive fast, and it's going to be a terrific opportunity to get over the bridge. So pretty exciting stuff. Here's a couple more renderings. You might notice the existing bridge. What we're going to do with that. DOT is in communication and coordination with the county and with St. Johns County and Clay County. To save the 2 ends and convert those to fishing piers, rec piers. There's some value there. That bridge is doing quite well structurally, so why throw it away? And so there is no deal yet in place, but DOT is working with the counties to get that in place. And finally, the last segment through St. Johns County, again, funded in fiscal year 2023, so early as July 2022. So again, just on the horizon. And finally here at 95, rendering of the interchange. So pretty massive, pretty impressive. So that's all I've got this morning. Check out our website, www.firstcoastexpressway.com. Find me, ask me questions, ask Amy questions. DOT has done a great job with the public involvement side of getting information out, but it's all about asking the right questions. So with that, does anyone have any questions for me?
So thank you, CJ. That was very informative. What I'd like to do now, by the way, I'm Cherie Stewart. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Clay County Economic and Development Services Director. And what I'd like to do is take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about updates from Economic and Development Services and really from the county's perspective as we prepare. Like George said earlier, we want to look back in 20 years and we want to say, hey, we did a good job working as a team and really making this thing, getting the best bang for our buck. So, and we think we're doing that. We really think we're working together to do the best we can. So let's go ahead and get started as soon as I start that timer. So let's talk for a few minutes. First, I think I need to say thank you to the Economic Development team for having us here today. I think this is something that's super important and everybody needs to be on the same page. It's one of those things that everybody has talked about this expressway for so long. We've seen the Blanding or Duval side of it completed. And I still think a lot of folks in our community aren't aware of what it's going to do for our community. I do think, however, now that we see some building happening or some construction happening along 16, honestly, I've had a lot more questions about the expressway in the last month and a half or so than I've had since I've been in this position. So I think that's a good thing for us. Also, before I truly get started, Howard Wanamaker, where are you at, Howard? Okay, so our new county manager's here. He's on day 3, and he's still with us, so life is good. And I will throw a little kudos to now Chief Mock. I was calling him County Chief, but Chief Mock's here with us, and he did a great job in the interim, and from staff side, I can say he really kept us going in the right direction, and we appreciated that, and we're excited to have Howard on board. One more, I've got Ed Lehman, who's my planning director, way back in the back, hiding. But Ed is really one of the masterminds of a lot of this PowerPoint and has a vast amount of knowledge here in Northeast Florida, so he's been very helpful. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about interchanges. And actually, I don't know if this is the latest one, but there we go. We'll make it work. So let's talk a little bit about an overview of the interchanges. We have, if you look at it, we have the Oakleaf Plantation Parkway interchange that's already happened. We have the Blanding Boulevard that's already happened. Henley Road, the future County Road 218 extension, State Road 16, Governor's Park, and then lastly, US 17. Wanted to give you an overview map just so you could see, kind of get a good visual of where those are. And we're going to dive into a little bit of those. So let's talk overview, and I'm not good at standing here, so we're gonna try something a little different. I'll take a few of these with me. I'm going to turn on this mic. Does it work? Does this work? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm just not good at standing behind a podium. So let's talk about the Oakleaf Parkway, and actually I think these either mine's a little bit out of order. Here we go. Let's talk about these interchanges for just a second. So there's 7 interchanges. They will be areas of employment. Obviously, they'll be areas of great tax base. A couple of our goals that we're pretty certain are going to happen is they're going to then keep people in our county and not having to go to Duval and other surrounding counties for employment. We also really believe, even when you look at some of the costs to take the whole toll, I think a lot of folks are going to take those tolls and will divert some of our traffic off some of our roads that are full. So let's talk about Oakleaf Plantation. So with that intersection, it's already operational. One of the good things about that intersection is it looks like in the future, you'll see when we get to the road section of our discussion, they're looking at a Cheswick Oaks extension proposed from the east side. There's a lot of activity in this section already. The south, and I'm going to try to use this pointer, the southwestern or the western side is the Oakleaf DRI. A lot of that is already developed out. But you will see this open area here. That will be moving into some mixed use with a good amount of commercial in that area as well. And there's also room for a lot of good activity center on this eastern side. This is still trees, and a lot of it's still agriculture, but it has some great potential to be a good activity center. So when you hear me say the words activity center or village center, that's part of the verbiage that's in our master plans. So when you hear that, think of a major employment center, also with some mixed use within that. There'll be some residential, maybe some apartments and that kind of thing, but a lot of the employment centers are in those what we call activity centers in the Brandonfield master plan, which is what this is in, and then village centers in the Lake Asbury. So we've got Blanding. This is a pretty exciting location in the fact that there's about 1,800 acres there that's already in activity center. So a huge, huge employment center. This is going to do a lot for our economic development. Obviously, if you should be pretty familiar with this. This is where you've already got Home Depot and Lowe's and all those good things. And you see a lot of movement there already. That's the great thing about actually seeing some of the road already open and starting. You see a lot of development and stuff moving here that we just haven't had in a while. So we're excited about that. This is going to be a definite employment center for us. Next, you've got Henley Road. Currently, this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge because if any of you are familiar with this area, and probably most of you are, there's a lot of low-density residential on this side, on the north side. Obviously, Lake Asbury proper, as I call it, on the southwestern side. You do have a pretty good nodule of vacant land there. And then on the southeast, we have some subdivisions. That's a rapidly growing area, so we have some subdivisions coming in there. But I also think the market, in the future, we think the market will dictate a lot of these lower residential areas going away when the market dictates that. But so this actual interchange is probably a little bit of a challenge when we're talking about employment and that sort of thing. Next is the County Road 218 extension. This is a future road. This is going to be an amazing employment center for us as well, as at this point in time it's an undeveloped property. So the extension is coming through there, and what that will do is it will go from existing County Road 218, and you see it right there, the dotted line. And it will go out through what is to be Saratoga Springs DRI, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, if and when that comes on board. So this is well positioned as an activity center all the way around this interchange. I mean, we just think it's going to be a huge employment center. There'll be some mixed use there as well, but a huge opportunity for us. So State Road 16 is next. This is going to be a great opportunity for us as well. The land to the south mostly is ag at this point in time, which we think will be a great area for some of your light industrial type stuff as we move forward. There'll be some more intense land use there. On the immediate right-hand side, you've got some greenways, so that may be a little bit of a challenge. But everything over here on this area is already set up and ready to go. So Highway 16, which is where you see all the work and construction being done now, we think this is going to be a great site for us moving forward. Next, you've got the Green Cove Springs Bypass, or AKA Governor's Park DRI. The development and the developer is going to be responsible for the construction of this interchange. I'll talk a little bit more about Governor's Park DRI in a few minutes. So it's a huge DRI on the southeastern side of 16, and it is really probably going to look a lot like Nocatee over in St. Johns County. For those of you who know where Gustafson's Dairy was, this is part of that Gustafson's Dairy property, and we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But this is a really good mixed-use area. At this point in time, it's proposed, right around the interchange, is proposed to have 2,000 multifamily residential homes or apartments, 840,000 square foot of commercial and retail, 700,000 square foot of commercial office, and about 400 hotel rooms, and about 2 million square foot of light industrial. So we're talking about a lot of really intense mixed use in this area. Okay, and then you've got US 17. This is one of our major industrial centers for the county. Essentially, when we look at industrial sites, we've got 2 places within the county right now that are our major sites, and this is one of them. We have some existing industrial parks and stuff. Sorry about that. Industrial parks in this area now. So it's going to be a good place for our industrial, light industrial, and otherwise. There's a lot of folks already looking in that area to see what's available and what they could make happen at this intersection. So this is going to be a great intersection when it comes to the industrial piece. Now, part of this is also in St. Johns River Water Management District's hands. They're looking at maybe even having some discussion about divesting that land and investing in some elsewhere for this interchange's sake. So let's talk about, let's talk for a little bit, and I'll kind of jump, and I probably should have said that at the beginning. We'll talk a little bit about the interchanges. We're going to talk a little bit about paying for transportation infrastructure. We're going to talk a little bit about overall zoning for the county as well. So let's talk a little bit about growth. You've got all these interchanges. You've got all this economic growth and all the folks that this is going to bring to our county, which is going to be a great thing for the citizens of our county. What it's also going to do is it's going to cause us to have a lot more folks, and like I said, in a few minutes we'll talk about the different housing projects that are coming in. So that means we're going to have some infrastructure issues. So one of the things that the County Commission has been very proactive in is we've been talking about how to handle those transportation infrastructure issues. So one of the things that the Commission did is last month they voted to increase the impact fees. So a lot of folks are like, oh no, increasing of the impact fees, but it's going to do several good things for us. We had some good discussion with our area builders, Northeast Florida Builders Association, and a lot of those guys, didn't want to blindside folks with what we were planning to do. So May 28th that happened. Essentially it increased the impact fees about 65%. So just to put that in real numbers, today, if you go to build the average size house, it's about $3,600 for the transportation impact fee. If you go sometime around September 30 and do that same house, it's going to cost you about $5,700. So somewhat of about 65% of an increase. But what they also did at the same time is they repealed concurrency or fair share. So if any of you guys are in the development business or know folks that are builders and that kind of thing, concurrency and fair shares kind of been an ongoing issue and struggle for folks, because one of the issues with concurrency and fair share is the fact that that number changes. That's all dealing with the roadways that are around your development, and it also deals with the traffic study. So if that road is negligent or there's not enough trips on that road, you're going to pay a higher fair share. You're going to pay your fair share, but if you talk to a lot of developers and builders and stuff, they did not agree in that verbiage that it was fair share. So what the board also did is they voted to repeal fair share and concurrency. So impact fees came up, fair share concurrency went away. What we heard from constituents and builders and such, they like that system. One of the comments I could almost say a quote is, we're not going to say that we love impact fees. However, we are going to say that we love that we know what the number is. It's not a moving target. We know how much it costs, and we can put that cost in our math problem. So that's what the commission's doing. Per statute, the impact fee study will be done in the fall of next year, and we will convert that to a mobility fee, and may see some other scenarios within that impact or within that mobility fee or impact fee number, but there will be a study next year as by statute. So this is super hard to see. I'm going to say that I have cards today. If you have a question or want to see something specific on the map, if you will just let me know, I can give you my cards. But what I also want to show you is our needs and our priorities. So this is the 2030 roads needs list. hard for you to see. Essentially, obviously, there's a lot of roads on it. There's $420 million worth of roads on it. So, not in any order. We actually have them labeled on the map if you wanted to see, and you could look at the cost of what we think those roads are going to cost. We have all of that. Just to name some of the roads, this is 218, both east and west. We have Sand Ridge Road. We have 209. So all of these roads that you see on this list, there's about 20. This is the Cheswick Oaks extension that I talked about when we talked about the Oak Leaf interchange up top here. So a lot of these roads are priorities for us. But again, there's over $400 million worth of roads there. So something the commission did is had some pretty hard discussion, looked at a lot of different numbers, and then they we came up with a priority list. So these are the roads that are a priority. So if you notice on the last map, you had a lot more roads highlighted from the needs list to the priorities list. You can see the First Coast Expressway coming in through here. So what they did is they looked at what was manageable, probably within about a 10-year time frame with funding. So you look at different portions. There's a portion of 218 West there. There is 209. There's Sand Ridge right here in this area. There's parts of the Challenger. Where's Ken Smallwood? I'm gonna call this Ken Smallwood's road right here. But what we did is we narrowed down the list. The commissioners had some great discussion, talked about it. We got it down to about $220 million, which is going to be about a 10-year project. I will say one of the things the commissioners are currently talking about is maybe bonding of this project to really jumpstart it. So that's one of the discussions they're having at some of the Board of County Commissioner meetings now is do we want to bond for those projects? So some other talks when we're talking about paying for infrastructure, you have a couple other funding sources. We have the impact fees. Remember I said the first road, the needs list is about $420 million. The priority list is about $220 million. We talked about bonding. I'm going to catch up here. So we have some other ways of funding that system. We have the fuel tax, which will be about $2.5 million per year. The local sales surtax, $15 million to $20 million, according to what percentage of that you use for this infrastructure. And then we talked about the mobility fees or the impact fees, average around $4 million. It's also kind of a difficult number for us to decide. It's good for the builders and the developers. They know how much they're going to pay. What we have to try to project is how many houses they're going to actually build. So typically they pay that fee. They don't have to pay that fee till they go get the electrical service turned on. So let's talk a little bit now. You've got the interchanges coming with the First Coast Expressway. It's going to bring economic development and some great growth for us, which means it's also going to bring folks. So where are we going to put these folks? So let's talk a little bit about our future land use, and we'll talk about residential, and we'll talk about commercial, just so you can see what the future land use maps show and how the county is preparing for that. And again, if you need any of this, I'll have my cards. I'll be here at the end, and I can send anything your way. So this is north of 16. Here we have 16. Here we have the expressway. So when you look at the colors that we have projected on the map, the dark brown is what we call urban core, which is up in the northern part of the county around Orange Park. That's our most dense residential land use, okay? So that's where you have a lot of your apartment homes and those kind of things. That's the most dense location, is this dark brown. And then you have, a lot of this is in the Brandonfield and the Lake Asbury master plan, and it's called master plan community. And that's what those are for, your subdivisions. That's why in the Lake Asbury area, you see a lot of new subdivisions coming in. All of that area is already master plan community. And then you have your yellow. And then you have your lighter yellow. As you go west of 23 and kind of west and south on 21 and south of 16, that's the more rural areas of the county. 16 and 21 have kind of been the dividing line of where we keep the more rural nature versus the more suburban nature. So that's why you see that on that land use map. This is south of 16. 16 is up here. So you see this is much more rural. Everything you see in white is ag residential, so it's very rural in nature. Obviously down here in Keystone and Lynn and Scottsboro down here, you see more density as well. And we do see this corridor here as a growing corridor as we move into the future. That's 17 corridor. So let's talk about employment. One of the things that's really going to be a goal of the county and everybody else that's working in this endeavor is to try to stop what we call all the strip employment centers, which, I mean, we all know this, we all live here. So up and down Blanding, you know, there's just something on every side, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason as to how everything was created. So that's not our goal moving forward. Our goal is that we have everything in these little nodes or these little nodules. So, and obviously a lot of these revolve around those interchanges. But the goal is to have employment centers, not have just strips of stuff all the way down. Have these nodes or nodules, have those employment centers where you're ready to get all those employment centers in one place, make it easy for the citizens to get to, make it easy for the employees to get to, and not get something that looks like this at the end of the day. So, I mean, you guys understand where this map is. So this is also north of 16 here. This is the Peters Creek investment part. This is one of the interchanges. This is the Blanding interchange. These are some of the little nodes I talked to you about when I had each map up there. So that's another interchange, okay? That's on the south side of 16 again. We broke the county up in half. Remember we talked about the big industrial area on 17. There it is. And you know what, I need to back up and show you one thing. This is way out 301, County Road 218. So we have a number of commercial employment centers way out on the western edge. Great thing about those is you've got US 301 out there. You've got rail. So you've got a lot of good opportunity out here in the western edge of the county. Okay, so let's talk about where folks are going to live. So we've got a couple of DRIs still on the books. They've been on the books for a few years, quite a few years, some of them. We've got Saratoga Springs, which is just north of 16, just to give you some landmarks so you'll know where that is. That's just north of, on the north side of the fairgrounds on 16, S.A. Wright's Old Dairy, if you know where that is. So that's Saratoga Springs. Governor's Park DRI, which we've already talked about just a little bit. Remember, that's down south of 16 in Gustafson's property. Here's what you're looking at with those two DRIs. DRIs are developments of regional impact. Think of Anacostia, think of parts of Oakleaf, think of parts of Fleming Island, where you have a lot of homes based in that area. You also have your mixed use and your commercial, kind of self-contained communities. So if you're looking at Saratoga Springs, you're looking at over 4,000 dwelling units, almost 400,000 of office, about 350,000 of commercial, a hospital. That's all planned for this area here. And you'll see these are some of the dash line roads that is what we call them, and those are roads that'll then make connectors through all these little communities. Governor's Park, which is the one we talked about being closer to turning some dirt up and having some shovels ready to work. That's about 6,000 dwelling units. Remember, it's just south of 16 here. And we talked a little bit about this amount of employment. So a lot coming here sooner rather than later. If you envision your Nacatees and stuff like that, that's what we think this will look like on a smaller scale. So if you've been over that way. Let's see what else we got on So let's talk a little bit about acreage and future land use when we're talking about, okay, we've got all these folks coming in, where are we gonna put them? This is a pretty good slide to show you what we have on the maps that we just showed just a few minutes ago. So if you look at future land use acreage, countywide we have over 5,000 acres, and we still have the majority of that vacant, okay? Commercial, we have about 2/3 of it vacant, almost 3,000 acres, and you have about 1,000 used. In the Lake Asbury Master Plan area, virtually all of it's available, okay? And then in Brandonfield, a good portion of that's still available as well, about 80%. So a lot of space to grow, a lot of acreage, and that's one of the things we talk about in the county is we gotta make sure we're prepared as it comes to us, that we're prepared for it. So a lot of that acreage is already ready to go, approved and ready to go, and ready for folks to come in and say, okay, this is what I want to put here. So then we have the discussion, is that the right kind of facility for that specific location? And that's where your zoning comes in. So remember, this is land use. Land use is bigger than zoning. Zoning is more, okay, can I put the doggy daycare in this particular area? Yes, yes you can, or no you can't, and here's why. So let's talk a little bit about why people really like to come to Clay County, because I'm getting close on my minutes. So Clay County is a great place to live, work, and play. We all know that. Hopefully all of you guys that are in this room live in Clay County. I can say that. I'm a 4th generation Clay Countian, so I've been here a while. Don't plan on going anywhere. So it's a great place. It's a great place to live, work, and play. The First Coast Expressway has changed the game. So we're looking at a whole new Clay County, and I think that's something a lot of citizens don't really understand at this point in time. So it'll be interesting as that expressway continues to be built out. But one of the reasons people come here is because they love the people. It's a friendly area. I like to, this is a phrase that I coined, I say we're a community of 200,000 people. Everywhere you go, folks are friendly. Our schools are great, so a lot of folks come here just to get their kids educated, have a great education. What we hope to do is then bring those employment centers to them so they can now live and work and play in this county. Talking about playing in the county, just wanted to show a few things about the quality of life. We have over 69 parks in the county. We have over 800 acres of parks in the county. There's 30+ miles of multi-use trails. There's almost 40 miles of navigable waterways within Clay County. So one of the things, you know, when you think about it, and I was a commissioner back in the day, and we talked about tourism and how do we get folks here, people like what we have to offer for the outdoors. They like our nature, they like our multi-use trails. We like to get outside. We like to get outside and do things, and we have a lot to offer for folks with that. So just wanted to talk for a few minutes about that. Wanted to, boat ramps. We have over 15 boat ramps and kayak launches that are county owned. So there's probably some private ones too. Kim could probably tell me that. But so Clay County has a lot to offer, I think, is what I want to end up saying here today. I think we're very prepared for moving forward in the future. I think we've done a lot of planning in order to be prepared for that. I think what you'll hear from the rest of these guys that are talking today on the electrical and the water and education, we'll hear from those folks, and the great thing is I think we're all working together to be prepared for it. So I think that might be it. So if you have any questions for me, I'll take questions.
Thank you, Charisse. And thank you all for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Kevin Craig. I'm AT&T's Regional Director for External Affairs. What does external affairs mean? The term lobbyist is a little dirty, so they try and dress it up a little bit and say external affairs. But I do want to tell you, my territory covers about 15 counties, and I will tell you, everyone in this room is very blessed to have folks like JJ, Laura, and then Charisse at the county working on your behalf in the EDC for everything you guys do. Since I came on board, all of them have been very proactive, reaching out, saying, hey, how can we plan for the future, especially on the telecommunications front. So I want to emphasize the work that you all are doing is fantastic and really support your partnership. The men and women of AT&T have a long-standing commitment to the communities where we work and live. about 350 AT&T employees live here in Clay County. Whether they're deploying fiber, enhancing our wireless network, supporting customers, delivering services, or offering their time and talent to support organizations that keep a community strong and thriving, our team is committed to the success of Clay County. Today, I've been asked to discuss our efforts to deliver services and keep businesses and residents connected. At the same time, I want to touch on the direction where we see communications and connectivity headed and what we're doing to prepare for that future. But first, if I can offer some background, I think it'll help us level set and better understand how we invest and how we prepare for consumer demand. AT&T has been investing in Florida for 140 years now. Now, I'm not going to walk back 14 decades through that deployment, but I do want to offer a quick snapshot of what this build has looked like. The slide on the screen now helps to show the progression of our residential wired build. If you wanted to see what business build looked like, you'd insert a second bar at the top that shows us deploying fiber to businesses in the 1980s. I also want to briefly discuss the factors we weigh as we identify areas for investment and delivery of new or enhanced services. First, we look at our network performance to see where the network needs the most improvement to keep up with local demand. Then we look at speed, cost, flexibility, and scalability to determine if things like small cells are the right fit. We also check local zoning and permitting restrictions to determine how they may affect our ability to quickly address network needs. And so as the factors have been weighed, we then continue the process of bringing high-speed infrastructure closer and closer to the end user. Because of these ongoing investments, we were better prepared for the increasing residential consumer demands and able to bring fiber a little close to the end user with DSL, and then even closer with UVerse. Of course, today, as the policy environment in Florida continues to welcome investment in high-speed infrastructure, our deployment has been robust, delivering access to AT&T fiber to more than 1.2 million homes across Florida. In fact, today, our years of investment places our Florida network in an unparalleled position, with more than 4.7 million strand miles of AT&T fiber optics covering the state. Of course, all this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's important that we make these investments because demand is showing no signs of slowing. In fact, service providers in the wireless industry expect 50 billion with a B, devices connected wirelessly by 2020. This is on top of the tremendous growth we've seen in data traveling across our network since 2007, an increase of more than 470,000%. In Florida alone, between 2000 and 2016, we saw a 232% increase in the number of wireless customers and a 77% decline in wireline customers. But this growth isn't just the result of a change in consumer preferences. Today, homes are more connected, cars are more connected, businesses are more connected, corporate fleets are more connected, and cities are more connected. So the question is, how can policymakers and stakeholders like yourselves help to keep our focus on communities such as Clay County? You can see on the screen that there are a number of key principles that are vital in this effort. The more open states and communities are to investment, the more competitive the market can be, and the better opportunities for consumers to benefit from improved services and lower prices. At the same time, by engaging with the community early and often, we can highlight the economic need for infrastructure investments and highlighting the consumer benefits of adopting or using the services available to them. Forums like this are essential to telling the investment and connectivity story. And finally, we need a policy environment that encourages the private sector to invest and deploy. From a telecom perspective, this is a core fair market principle where policies are not adopted that choose winners and losers. Whether we're talking about recognizing wireless broadband as an alternative to wired connectivity or establishing small cell provisions that welcome all providers to invest in a way that meets the demands, or even streamlining the internal administrative processes to allow for thorough but quick permit reviews and approvals, governments at all levels can adopt policies and procedures that encourage investments from multiple entities. And in that right policy environment, this is the type of economic impact that studies project from just 5G and smart city opportunities in the years to come. I'll leave you all with this. Just last week, AT&T announced over $300 million has been invested in the Jacksonville market in the last 3 years in boosting our networks. This means adding capacity and bandwidth to support customer connectivity and prepare for 5G in our region. Unfortunately, not all communities are as open to investment and have prohibitive policies and permitting processes that discourage investment. From an economic development perspective, in the next few years, businesses and families looking to move to Florida are going to have options, and choosing somewhere in our state that has 5G connectivity, high-speed internet opportunities, and smart city applications that benefit the whole community. For example, in recent months, due to restrictive policies and slow permitting processes, we as a company unfortunately had to scrap plans to bring high-speed internet to over 2,000 homes in a major Florida city. I'm not going to name names or shame them, but it's a city that needed high-speed internet. Their favorite colors are orange and blue, and it's a college town. And they whooped the Seminoles last year in football. So in all seriousness, we want to work closely with the cities and counties to address community concerns while at the same time ensuring that consumers and businesses have the best possible networks to live and work on. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And the folks at the county have been great, EDC has been great at working with us to find that middle ground between addressing citizen needs and also enhancing the network where we need to make those improvements. So I think we're going to take a 5-minute coffee break here, but open for any questions if we have the time.
What we're going to talk about today is the capacity, both CCUA's existing and proposed capacity, how we're planning on accommodating growth and demand associated with this expressway, service availability and how that relates to demand, the challenges we face, and opportunities and solutions that we're looking at. Now, capacity. Capacity of our existing system and our future system is something that we look at annually. When we get into our capital budgeting and our operating budget process, we begin to look at where do we currently sit with our existing capacity, where is growth happening, where do we think growth is going to occur in the future, and we model that to try and simulate where and when do we need to make capital investments. Now, capital investments gets tricky because we want to have the capacity online when the demand is there, but we don't want to be too far ahead of when that demand is going to hit our system, because obviously additional capacity, additional infrastructure requires a substantial amount of capital investment. This slide here just shows some of the plants. The top is the water treatment plants, the bottom is the wastewater treatment plants of where our existing capacity is. And the blue highlights up here reference where we have planned expansions of our water plants, and the green on the bottom is where we have planned capacity improvements for our wastewater plants. Now, some of the current investments that are in motion currently is a $9 million expansion of our mid-clay wastewater treatment facility. And I'll note here, this $9 million expansion is on top of the $18.5 million facility that we just completed and placed into service. And that's all to serve areas around the First Coast Expressway. We currently have in motion a $3.4 million expansion of Peters Creek, our water treatment plant, $13.5 million expansion for our Fleming Island wastewater plant, and we have a whole new facility in the Saratoga Springs area at $8.5 million of an initial investment. Some of the other future investments that are significant on our radar screen, we're coordinating with DOT with regarding to pre-plan utility crossings across the expressway so we can have the casings in advance, because that will certainly save the utility and our ratepayer a significant amount of money later on instead of jacking and boring later underneath the roadway. We also have an initial $10 million investment in Governor's Park that's on the radar screen, and a $22 million expansion for the Peters Creek wastewater treatment facility. These are all significant investments in the future of the expressway. Now, accommodating growth and demand can be a tricky business. Your crystal ball is just as good as my crystal ball. And as a matter of fact, we actually use an Oracle product called Crystal Ball to help us model where we think growth and demand is going to occur. Now, one of the things we've done this year is we've expanded our modeling efforts from a 5-year look ahead that was consistent with our capital improvement program to now we're looking 10 years ahead, trying to get an idea of where and when this growth with the demand with the expressway is going to occur. Now, our historical average of growth in accounts, and that's what this graph on the bottom is, averages out to about 1,000 accounts per year. Now, the BEBR, which is the Bureau of Economic and Business Research from the University of Florida, forecasts over the next 20 plus or minus years that our growth should average out to just shy of 1,400 accounts per year. Now, that's fairly steady, but again, over a large window, you have significant peaks. As you see here, back in 2003, we had 3,500 accounts in 1 year. So we're trying to be advancing in front of those peaks, but not be too far, and account for the sensitivity one way or the other, because you don't want to build to support your peaks all the time. Because over time, everything, as any good business major will tell you, everything regresses to the mean over time. Now, in this particular graph, I'm not going to belabor it. This is the output of our analysis. These cells have conditions. Green is good, red is not so good. And as you can see, out of our 10-year forecast of our existing and future planned capacity, our analysis shows we're in pretty good shape. So we will have capacity available as things develop in the future. And again, we update this every single year, and we try to be actively involved with the community from a service availability standpoint to stay in front of growth. That brings us to service availability and demand. We do have a service availability process that begins, like with any good process, with good communication. The quicker we know about potential developments and what's happening helps. That begins with the inquiry for service, and we can help lay forth the parameters of how that development is going to be served, because it's not just plant capacity, it's the capacity of the transmission lines, the distribution lines, pressures, flows. There's a lot that goes into that development of that project before it's ever submitted for service, permit reviews, and ultimately a developer agreement that is presented to our Board of Supervisors. And then once permits are issued, it moves into construction, and then once construction is completed, it's turned over to us to begin operation of that system in perpetuity into the future. Now, here on this slide, we also have our existing capacity fees. These capacity fees are paid currently. They're deferred until the homeowner is setting the meter at the building water, so it's not paid up front in the development. It's actually paid very close to when we'll start to see a revenue stream from the end-use customer. They're currently about $4,165, but there are other charges here that may apply depending on your development. Sorry, I had to have that disclaimer in there. And these will be updated annually, because these are to reflect our actual construction costs for those for each plant as they are built. And it's just simply the cost of construction divided by the accounts that it served. That's how we come up for it. And once these charges are paid, that account, that residence or business, is essentially a shareholder in the utility, because we're agreeing to serve that in perpetuity into the future. Now, some of the challenges that we face, and I'm going to break these into two categories, the environmental sustainability and the economic sustainability, because both are relevant challenges for the utility authority and the community at large. First and foremost, thing that's on our radar screen is our consumptive use permit is up for renewal in 2025. That sounds like it's a long way off, but really it's not. It's coming up fast. And why that's important is the consumptive use permit governs our permitted water use allocation. On any given day, and it changes seasonally, we currently use between 12 and 15 million gallons across our entire system amongst all of our customers. We have a permitted allocation currently of about 35 million gallons a day. So when we start looking at the growth of the expressway and essentially doubling the size of the utility over a 25 to 30-year forecast, we want to protect that 35 million gallon a day allocation. And that's why the alternative water supply is so important, because the existing water supplies that are come from the aquifer, they do have limitations, and that kind of gets into the regulatory side that I'll talk to next. So we want a sustainable model, and those alternative water supplies will help us maintain a sustainable, both environmentally sustainable and economically sustainable utility into the future. Now, the next is regulations that are currently under development. Some of these exist and are up for revision, and these are what they call minimum flows and levels. These are important because they protect existing water resources, environmental resources, and water supplies that are important to the region and important to the community. I want to stress here that CCUA is focused on protecting the environmental resources and water supplies, not just for Clay County, but for the region as a whole. And again, our environmental sustainability is a key focus because, part of the reason why we all live and work in Clay County and in Northeast Florida is the environmental resources are important to us. Those lakes, those streams, they're an important aspect to the recreation and our community as a whole. So we are aimed at protecting those, and we are actively engaged in those regulation development through not just CCUA, but as part of the larger public supply community as a whole. The next thing that's on our radar screen is the constituents of emerging concern. These are elements or constituents that are in the water that are not currently regulated. They are not regulated from the EPA level or from the state level, but they exist. And they usually come from pharmaceuticals, vitamins, hormones, other supplements that people take. The body only absorbs so much, and then it enters the waste stream. Our biological treatment process is not aimed at treating those particular constituents. And while they exist in small concentrations, they do not get fully absorbed through our existing treatment process. These things are not currently regulated, but any reasonable person in the water industry will tell you in the foreseeable future they will likely become regulated. And so that's why they're on our radar screen. We're evaluating what EPA has been producing as far as its documents, and we're also looking at new technologies and processes to address these issues before they ever become particular problems. Next, I'd like to move to economic sustainability. These are real challenges for the utility, and the first is the strategy for financing capital improvements. I had mentioned alternative water supplies, and our current planning efforts over a 25 to 30-year effort, the alternative water supply initiative is likely going to cost anywhere from $50 to $100 million over that window. So that means there needs to be very strategic decisions on the timing to take on debt and what type of debt to necessarily take on, because there's no silver bullet for this. So it's not necessarily just pure traditional bonds or loans. We need to think about how we do it and when exactly that we do it. The next thing is, with all of this growth, we are taking on additional infrastructure well in advance of, usually 2 years in advance, if not sometimes more, of actual paying customer coming online. That additional infrastructure does relate to additional operating costs and additional labor, and that does impact rates. The next thing that is a particular challenge when you talk about economic sustainability, every asset, every pipe, every structure, every piece of equipment has a foreseeable lifespan. And it's better to deal with those particular issues in advance versus waiting until it breaks, because then you have environmental compliance issues, you have angry customers, et cetera, that if you wait till it breaks. And right now, 43% of this year's capital budget is aimed at renewal and replacing of existing infrastructure. Now, the last thing I'd put here as far as a challenge on the economic sustainability is public perception and acceptance. I'll tell you, quite frankly, our rates, as you can see in this table here, CCUA is next to the lowest rates when you compare us with other utilities in the region. And the technology that we're looking at implementing to address these issues in the future is going to cost more. That's going to impact rates. So there needs to be a healthy professional public discussion about reasonable rates, because we do want to sustain economic viability for both the utility and the community, so there needs to be a good discussion with that. The other thing is water. The water here on Earth is the same water that's been here for a couple billion years, and it's going to be the same moving forward. We have the capability to treat the water to what we need to our end-use specifications. And so we're trying to find the most economic solutions for those water resources to make sure that that drinking water demand is met. But some of those source waters do come with certain stigmatisms that have to be dealt with professionally on a public policy level. Now, opportunities and solutions. Obviously, the easiest and lowest hanging fruit is conservation. Less water reuse obviously sustains the resource well into the future. We do have a tiered rate structure that has been very successful. I have all the statistics to show that the average water demand per account has gone dramatically. And the bottom line is we're pumping today less than we did in 2009, bottom line. And so the conservation effort has definitely worked. And complementing the tiered rate structure, our customer outreach, both from a water conservation assessment, high water use notifications, and 3-day continuous usage, all have material impacts both to the benefit of the customer and saving them dollars on their bills, as well as water that isn't lost due to lost water use. Now, opportunities and solutions. Our team and our board had the forethought to develop the Alternative Water Supply Initiative. This is a dedicated funding source that, based upon our modeling, shows will generate roughly $50 to $60 million through that capacity fee and that $3 per bill surcharge. So that is important because that dedicated funding source helps offset some of the capital costs that we were talking about earlier. Our team is also very actively involved in researching and testing new water treatment systems for their performance and cost effectiveness. Our pilot project with the DOT is finalizing design. This afternoon, I have a lengthy meeting that's going through the framework for our treatability study. Our hydrogeology work that's investigating the geology underneath Clay County in regards to aquifer injection or potentially aquifer storage and recovery systems are underway, and we're actively involved with the Potable Reuse Commission and monitoring that framework development. The other thing that's on our side is leadership. The community partners, we partner with the other utilities in Northeast Florida, and as well as a number of people here in this room, we believe in partnering with the businesses and organizations within Clay County for collaborative solutions that work for everybody. The other thing that's on our side is we are working on solutions now for the challenges we're going to face in the future. Because obviously when it comes to environmental and economic sustainability, we want to be on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. And I'll also note here, this picture is a team, me and a couple of my colleagues went down to Altamont Springs for a water purification system that they have under development. And yes, to answer the question in advance, we drank the water. And so with that, thank you for your time, and I can certainly answer any questions.
All right, so first and foremost, my name is Addison Davis. I am the lead educator in Clay County District Schools. And as many have said, what a great place to live and be an educator, but to every single day impact the lives of our children within our school district. Before this, the First Coast Expressway came on board, my hair was actually combable and it was a lot darker. But nonetheless, as an educator, we've got to get to a point where we are truly ready. I'm trying to not use this. Sorry. Truly ready and prepared. Is that okay? Okay, you have to hear your voice as the principal. You got 800 kids in the cafe. You got to go to work. But to really be a point where we've got to really plan. This is a time where everyone in this community ultimately has to band together with a singular goal of having a master plan to make this come to fruition. I think, sir. Come to fruition. And as a school district, we have our job is cut out in front of us. Just like the infrastructure side, just like the county's perspective, everything that's before you today, it's going to be overall massive undertaking within Clay County District Schools. What I want you to do as an educator, always get individuals involved. I want you to look at these numbers. I want you to turn and talk to your shorter buddy or someone that's at your table or behind your table and just talk about what do you think these numbers actually mean related to the First Coast Expressway and additionally related to Clay County District Schools. They may mean nothing to you right now, but let's turn and talk and take a moment to have a conversation on what these numbers actually mean to you related to this project. So does anyone want to take a stab at these numbers?
You want to be first.
Yeah, you want to be first always. Everything that we do. If you're not first, you're last. Who said that? Ricky Bobby. If I want to go fast, I do. My hands are all to do with my hands.
Yeah, it's going to cost you over $300 million to get there.
Absolutely. That's a great number. Anybody else?
48 schools.
48 schools. How many schools do we have now? 43. Anyone else? So if you look at this, this is what defines our work from the educational standpoint. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I got it right. It's some bingo. What's the prize? You're going to help me figure this out. That's what your prize is. At the end of the day, we're the fastest growing county identified in the state of Florida. We will need a projected of 48 schools, currently have 43. There will be around 15,000 homes that will take energy or take the project projected within this new expansion. It will be to the school district will have over 6,000 students that will darken our doorways, that will get a chance to educate and improve their intellectually, socially, and emotional talents for them to be successful within our community. And then overall, the demands will be around $300 million, bless you, for Clay County District Schools in order to stand up 5 to 7 brick and mortar buildings to be able to accommodate the 6,000 learners that will come to us within our school district. As relates to Clay County, we've had, Ms. Stewart said it well, individuals and newcomers come to Clay County, one, for the core values that we exist and that we have, the quality of life, but at the same time, they come because we have an outstanding school system that is most attractive to newcomers. And with that, in the last 2.5 years, we've had the record high graduation rate. We are now ranked number 8 in the state of Florida. We were ranked number 20 upon my entry. And then we are really competing with like-sized counties throughout the state. We are second to the number 1 county in the state, which is St. John's. And I said it last night, every superintendent meeting that I go to, every chance that I have a chance to call him, I tell him we're coming after him for him to put his seatbelt on, put his helmet and his chin strap, because great things are coming to Clay County, continue through this expressway, and we're right there connected with him. So a lot of things are happening positively related to education, but now from the planning perspective, we have to have a master plan ready to go in order to be in line with the county to support it. So today in this presentation, we'll talk about the overall projected enrollment trends for Clay County District Schools. Well, I'll talk about the expected growth in what particular areas we will see those growth in. We'll see what projected schools we will need internally. We'll talk about the proposed financial plan. Right now, there's no financial plan, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of money, $300 million. And then look at projected timeline for that growth and how that interacts with us in the community in a holistic manner. So fun fact, that this will all, the First Coast Expressway will come at an expedited rate through our county, and we have to be not only mentally prepared for it, but structurally prepared to make this happen. I need Mr. Johnson's crystal ball so that we can know what steps to take in order to make the right decisions within the school district. It will expand the Green Cove Springs area in a massive way. We see with Governor's Park coming on board. And additionally, we see that the first phase is already complete. And the movement will then transition to phase 2 and phase 3. And then the quality of life will continue to attract newcomers to our school, to our county. And once again, we are named the largest growing county in the state of Florida. As we talk about projectability and growth with a number of our students within Clay County District Schools, you can see in 2019 that we have around 40,000 individuals that we educate every single day. In the coming years, you will see that number will grow tremendously. And for us, we can't be reactive to this information. We can, in reference to, we must have student stations readily available in order to intake our children and provide them with the greatest educational experience possible so they feel that they have a world-class experience every day in Clay County District Schools. So with this said, you see that there's 6,000, it is projected to have around 6,000 students by 2028. And we moved from somewhat of a mid-sized school district to a medium-large school district, which is a plus for us to be able to have additional resources for our teachers, additional resources for our support staff, and more educational pathways for every one of our learners within our community. As we talk about the timeline of how this will work, if you see these, you'll have some slides that will be a transition slide. We will talk about the projected number of schools, and the projected build date is not the day it will start, but is the day we will have to begin to break ground and stand the brick and mortar school up in order to be prepared for our children. So right now we see that the projected need will be in the Oakleaf Tynes area. That will be the area that will have the first school. If you look at this heat map, I will show a number of heat maps that shows the potential current growth within these particular areas. Here it's going to be the Tynes area and the Oakleaf area that the need for school number 1. School number 1 will be impacted right here. It's called School A. And in School A, you see that there is the continued growth is happening throughout this entire community. Now, there is a little property right here. Is that right, Mr. Smallwood? That's it, right here, that we call the Challenger Center. You know, it will bring a, you know, we know it's going to be retail, but it's also going to be residential, which is going to be a full court press for us in this particular area to be able to have brick and mortar schools, classrooms ready for our children. If we go back and look at this at a greater focus and really focus into this particular areas, you see these heat maps identify the actual communities that are linked to the particular growth. Majority of these areas have already been, you know, that looks really nice. I don't know what happened there. Must have a 2G up there on my phone. Sorry, I got to come back and get a 5G. Some days you have 2Gs, buddy. I don't know. Maybe we'll give me 2 phones, we'll have a 4G, or give me a marker, I'll write it on my phone, and I'll have a 5G, whatever else y'all have. I have Sprint, I'm sorry, and sometimes it walks. There we go. But in this area, we see that we have particular growth. And we just built Discovery Oaks, and Discovery Oaks is almost already to a point where it's at 98%. The beautiful thing when we build Discovery Oaks in this area, in the Oakleaf area, we build it with the mentality that we will add on standalone classrooms and get away from the portable world in Clay County. If you know, when you ride by schools or you visit schools, we have a number of portables in our school district. I inherited 900 portables. And as you know, that is not an attractive place to teach and learn. And it's also a place that, you know, the law and order, we talk about safety, very difficult to create safety in that mentality. So why this growth exists, you see that a number of the schools in these areas with Plantation Oaks is over 100% capacity, Tynes is at 101%, and then Discovery Oaks keeps building, and Eagle Landing, that will be over 100%, so we have to do something. So what our plan will be is to figure out how we can create this build in 2022 in order to make the accommodations. We will see in that 5-year span, starting now, there are 415 students will be transitioned, projected to this particular area. My plan, since these schools are, and this has to be board approved, right, Ms. Bolin? They're board approved. My plan for these 2 particular areas, schools, since they are 1.3 miles away from each other, would take Tynes Elementary School, or take, well, let's just say School A, which would be the new build, and make that an early literacy center. So we've got to do a better job with educating 3- and 4-year-old children and getting them to the educational center quicker by making this an early literacy center, to having 3- and 4-year-old programs and make it be a K-2. And then allow Tynes Elementary to be a 3-6 initiative. So now that everyone that's in that community over the 1.3 miles has an opportunity to go to both schools with a centralized focus on accountability, grade level development, and then early literacy development to be able to get our children honed into the necessary foundational skills in order to be successful within our community. If you look at this once again, just shows that the trends over the next couple of years, you will see that 80 to 70 I think 70 to 80 homes are particularly built. I think it's a month, and you will see that we'll continue to have fruition of children. They all will not come at once, which is great, and they'll be able to transition to have 190 children come by the 2023-24 school year. And Tynes, bless you, will need definitely an opportunity for us to have that expansion. And right now, when we talk about the portables, Tynes Elementary School has 37 portables, and the new build will allow us to initiate the portable reduction mentality and service 640 seats in a school that's a better environment for our children overall to be successful. And we talk about rebounding. If we had to reboundary and this school wasn't an early literacy school and it was just a standalone school based on communities, you would see that with School A, if we did. Currently, Tynes is at 101% capacity. If we did nothing and allowed the newcomers to transition to the school, they would be at 120% capacity, which is unhealthy for any educational environment. And through the rezoning, it would take Tynes down to 84%, being able to absorb some of this legwork through the challengers. And then at the same time, it would be allowed us, for School A, would be at 70%. And then you would have projectability for future growth within this community. School 2 would be in the Lake Asbury. We see the Lake Asbury continues to have great expansion. Saratoga is coming on board without a doubt, and we have a number of areas. This will be a 2023 build in 2024, and that would be in school R. Once again, this is the heat map around these particular areas. You have Lake Asbury Elementary School, Lake Asbury Junior High School, and then you have Shadowlawn. This expansion is happening daily within these communities, within this particular area. As relates to the growth in this particular heat map, we do see that these are the areas that have been, expanded or in current development within the schools. We have Lake Asbury that's at 90% capacity, and we have close to 1,000 children in that elementary school, which is a lot. Particularly as an educator, we'd love to have 700 to 800 children at an elementary school. It's more manageable for that environment for educators and support staff. And then we see that Shadowlawn is at 83%. The issue with Shadowlawn, we have someone in here that's got the Reinhold North coming up, and we make jokes because we know if it's going to be a Reinhold North, there's going to be a Reinhold South, there may be a Reinhold East, and there may be a Reinhold West. We don't know yet, but I'm sure he just looks at me and goes, okay, Axton, keep going. I'm just trying to figure it out so I can know how many kids I'm going to have. But all that to say is that there's going to be a lot of particular pressure in this area, and there's going to be expansion daily. And this is going to be a pathway. Reinhold is committed, my understanding, and we're working with them to extend the 218 to the First Coast Expressway, which does allow for particular developments, and then Reinhold North, which create another opportunity for seats at the Shadowlawn that we're trying to figure out how that build and how that relationship looks. We're figuring it out particularly right now. But overall, that the School R is in this area. School R will definitely be needed because definitely with this being an extension to the First Coast Expressway, we will have a number of developments in this area, and then we just don't have the capacity at the Lake Asbury schools to be able to make that come to fruition. And once again, you see the portable world that we live in. 42 portables are at Lake Asbury Elementary School. If we get a chance, and there will be a need for School R, we'll be able to open up the 750 seats and transition those children to this school with potential rebounding for School R, which is located on 315. The next one is the big one for us, and we start in 2025, and that will be expanded all the way to 2029, particularly maybe even further. This is Governor's Park, and this is the park group is the developer of this particular area. As I said before, this is going to be directly linked to the same mentality of Nocatee, where you see that it's going to be tremendously attractive in this area, and it's really going to expand and grow legs immediately starting in that 25 year for us. This is where we have we are projected in the Governor's Park DRI to have around 6,200 units that will be put into this placement, which brings around 1,400 children to our school district. And in addition to that, you see that Saratoga Springs, and that is in the particular area of the Lake Asbury area by School R, that will also bring around 42 homes in this particular area, which brings close to 1,000 students, for that progression. We see that progression has to take place, which will bring in the Governor's Park area. You will see that in Governor's Park, right now it is planned to have 3 schools, 2 elementary schools and 1 secondary school, understanding that they won't come all at once, but School B will be the first school that we start in 2025 in order to accommodate the children that will come along with this new DRI. And you see as the Governor's Park, the expressway cuts it directly in half with the town center, and it's going to be, it's just really going to be a really nice place for this community in Clay County. Overall, the summary, what does this mean for us? We talked about it earlier. We project around 15,000 homes that will come to us within our school district that we have to plan for. With that projectability, it's going to be close to over 6,000 students that we will have to open the doors and welcome, which is exciting from our side as an educator. And the bulk of those students will be elementary, and then you'll see the articulation through junior high school and high school. And then as we look at it, this is where an overview of our school needs. I put in there schools A, which is in the Tynes area, School R in the Lake Asbury area, B, C, and D are in the Governor's Park. But I also put the need for us to do a replacement of Green Cove Junior High School in the 7th and 8th grade because that's a school that, it's an older school that we need to remodel and give our children the most attractive environment in order to serve them every single day. As relates to the capacity, this is the numbers that are openly set and established by the state of Florida when we talk about builds. And this could be some of the work where some of the vision, while it's proposed for 862, we will, if we need to and see the projectability, we will build schools that we can either expand brick and mortar classrooms, or we will build it bigger and petition to the state in order to accommodate those who are coming to us. And the biggest thing that we need to look at and understand, this costs money. And this is going to be, while we have a $400 million budget in our school district, of that $400 million, 80% of those funds are spent on people. And that is, and one thing we know about Clay County, that, where it's a family-oriented place, I'm not willing to look at staff members and educators and eliminate positions, because we have to have the right resources for our children. The other 20% of the budget is all categorical, meaning how the state of Florida gives us statutory compliances that we have to spend money on particular areas, and we cannot go out of bounds in those categoricals, meaning the fact that it's going to take money and a strategic initiative and plan in order to be able to fulfill the requirements within this county. As you look here, this is today's price. It probably costs around $30 million to build an elementary school. Knowing the price will probably be elevated over the coming years, we are projecting to for these numbers to go up. For us to build the right high school, I would say, Doc, 65 million.
High school?
Yes, sir.
Approaching 80, 90.
Yeah, about $80–90 million to make that happen. So while we built, I think it's Oak Leaf 10 years ago, and it's somewhere around $60 million. That number has gone up tremendously in order to prepare our students in the 21st century. So we talk about the funding source. How are we going to do it? The biggest thing we see on here is to be determined. And I started to pass it. At this time, we're going to pass the hat around in this room. So please, Doc and Mr. Fossa, this is your time. You can get up and help me with this process. We'll see how much money we can generate. We promise it will be used in this initiative. But it's a lot of money. So one thing we did, we presented, and I have the Assistant Superintendent of Operations. We have Dr. Michael Kemp here today with me, who's influential in that work. Also the Coordinator of Planning and Government Relations. This is Mr. Jim Fossa. They do beautiful work for our school district in order to have these planning initiatives out. But we brought this same presentation. We recently, in the last 2 weeks, had a conversation with the school board about this growth and what it means to our school district. So one of the things we had to do was talk about how we're going to fund it. Now that you have the vision of the projectability of children, the projectability of schools, what is the plan to make this happen financially? And the first thing is that these are all the options that were exposed to the school board. The first option was to look at your general fund. And in your general fund, I just broke down the $400 million. We just don't have the money. Coming in, we were a school district that was openly financially unhealthy, was close to a 2% reserve fund balance, and now we're close to a 5%. We're moving in the right direction, but you have to be able to have money in reserves in order to address a potential emergency. We had a chiller that went down at Orange Park High School, and Doc, how much did that cost? $1.2 million for a chiller to go down. So in our money that we get for capital outlay money is around $855,000, which is equivalent to having $17,000 per facility in order to address the maintenance needs within our school district. And $17,000 per facility, you just can't get it done. We got duct tape though, we got Band-Aids, we're trying to make it happen, but openly, systemically, that's not the right things to do. So we've got to figure out how we do this. So general fund, it just doesn't have the money. The other option is to figure out what we can do from a bonding perspective. We have the availability in our school district to bond out around $70 million. The issue is once you start bonding out money, you're paying that debt services for over 20 years, and which is through LCIF funds. And the LCIF funds are all linked to being able to address the maintenance needs within our school district, within our organization. So there, where we may have to do it, that may cover 2 elementary schools, but that means if we do that, when we cover the 2 elementary schools, There's no additional funding to be able to pay for issues with roof leaks, with maintenance, with repainting, with facility, with any infrastructure issues that may come up within the organization. The money just is not there. And because right now I can tell you, coming in, we built this school, the Discovery Oaks, debt-free. We found money to do so. However, we are still paying today on Flemington High School, which opened up in 2003. And we just openly, it's just not a smart business management decision to do those types of things. At the same time, we had the option to look at impact fees I proposed to the board. Right now, our impact fee is $7,034 per new build. There's been a study that continuously tells us that we should elevate that number, and the school board has not. They've kept it consistent with our work. However, if you look at the impact fees, it generates around $5 million per year. Am I that bad? Am I that sure? I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. Sorry. I just had to take advantage of it. I mean, just pull the fire alarm next time. Sorry, Chief. Sorry. I'm glad he's here with us today. So $5 million is where we are with the impact fees annually. The issue is that I'd have to stack that money for 6 years in order to pay for one elementary school. The other issue is that we're using that money to pay for Fleming Island and Oakleaf schools that we built years and years ago. So we're just in a tight spot financially in order to make that happen. The other issue is that we have this fair share agreements for new developments. And the fair share, that means that if we do not have the capacity in order to agree on a new development, first of all, I'll say this. Our job is to never, ever stop the development and growth in Clay County. We want to celebrate it. The issue becomes is, does the school district have the capacity in order to make it happen? So in this particular area where we don't have capacity, there comes to a point where fair share agreements have to be coming on board. We're in one right now. We have a school that, a development that's going next to one of our schools that will bring around 40 children. Openly, we don't have the capacity of that school to be able to absorb those 40 children. We don't internally have the money up front to be able to extend a wing, which will cost us around close to $2 million. So in the fair share, there's a number of options that can happen. In the fair share agreement, a developer can either pay their fair share, which I think is around $24,000 to $25,000 per student station to the school district. They can donate land or they can donate the building. I hope they do all three. I hope you do all three. I know it won't happen, but at the end of the day, there is an articulation agreement that sits down and is mediated between groups in the school district to find actually what best works for the community and what best works for our school district as well. And additionally, the other option could be additional revenue streams. What additional revenue streams can we bring on board, which I know are never attractive, can we bring on board in order to fulfill be able to pay and purchase the new schools that will be in front of us as well? Openly, you've seen, and there's been, when I got here probably 2.5 years ago in Clay County District Schools, I did a 6-month assessment of every division, every facet within this organization, instructionally, mental health, financially, operations, facilities, HRs, infrastructure, everything. And I wrote around 200 pages that I gave to the board. Ms. Bull's like, yeah, we still got it, we haven't read it. 200 pages analysis that I gave to the board. But in that analysis, staff found through Dr. Kemp's work and Mr. Fossa, we found that we had $280 million of deferred maintenance within that work. So we were trying to brainstorm how we would generate that funding. So there were conversations about additional revenue streams for our district. However, the millage came on board due to the House Bill 7026 in order to purchase, to pay for safety and security within our school district. That came on board. The board is elected to go into the millage. The conversation about additional revenues went sunset, and the millage passed, which we're thankful for the community that made us happen. But now again, the board, after this presentation, wants to, a particular board member put it on the board agenda for June 27th to have a conversation to determine whether or not we need to go out for an additional revenue stream. No, the superintendent does not get to vote on that issue, but my job is to whatever the board selects is to implement and put it in action, put it in work. And the last one we could do is redistrict. We could do zero cost, and every single year in the school district, I could rezone. And that would create so much noise and turmoil and uncomfort and inconsistency within the school district That's truly not an option as an educational leader. I don't want to say, this year you got to go to this school, then I got to redistrict, then I got to redistrict. It's just not what best practices allows us to lend to within this work. So when we talk about facility needs, not only do we have $300 million of new needs, we have $280 million of facility needs. We have average schools that average around 60 years of age, and we talk about the needs for HVAC, building, plumbing. Or, we have to do a better job, not looking at having a systemic approach to being able to address deferred maintenance that for so many years within our school district for decades, and trying to figure out how we can fund that for our children and for our community as well. And then the biggest thing we have to do, we have to get out of the business of portables. Having over 900, I've reduced that to around 700 in the last 2.5 years. We are the third largest school district of portables in the state of Florida. We are behind Miami-Dade, who has 372 schools, related to portables. And that just can't, just can't happen. We've got to get to a point where we have systemic classrooms. So, we talk about potential barriers. From a barriers perspective, we see that the rate of change, we're going to have and build, 5 to 7 schools. And this growth will be equal. You take the Oak Leaf area, the Eagle Harbor, and the Fleming Island area growth, you lump that all together, and this is what you will get in the next 5 to 7 years. It will be truly before us in a rapid manner to be ready. Also, the barrier that we additionally have is funding. How do you actually fund this entire initiative? And then how can we really help the county looking at new infrastructure as well? Because I know the county's going to have some big issues. And then in the timeline of the growth, it's going to be really in front of us, and we have to be prepared. So what do? My job as a lead educator is to make sure that we have a master plan for new construction. This team has done a great job putting that in place. We'll be prepared to identify funding strategies for growth, which I presented to the board. Also partner with a county to coordinate new infrastructure plans for growth, not only within our schools, but in our community as well, to determine how we can assist. And then work collectively with the Planning Commission to ensure that this growth can be controlled and it is doable from our particular side as an organization. I will say this, the Economic Development Corporation, has been a beautiful partner of ours. They work tremendously to support education. We're truly thankful for that. And overall, Clay County is a place where core values mean a lot. They're everything that we have. And while this is a time for it's time for excitement, and it brings a little bit of angst about how we're going to get this done. As I said earlier, our job is to band together and to make this to be a great part of who we are and who we become. And all of us, we understand our role as educators is to ensure to continue to offer a reliable and relevant learning environment for every single child where they have a world-class education. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'll be able to take them as of now.